Hey podcast, Matt and Nick here from Frank again. It's a pretty casual Friday here, and I thought it might just be a pretty good opportunity to talk about something that I know I personally love speaking about, which is not only everything business, but particularly the start of business and the somewhat of the idea phase and how one actually comes up with the idea. So we thought we'd just kind of shoot the breeze for a Friday afternoon. I'll speak to Nick, who's got his own journey going on, works in the Frank team, but he's got his own stuff going on outside of the team as well.
Side
hustles. Obviously myself in driving Frank directly from the top, and just have a bit of a relaxed Friday podcast for our Let's Be Frank podcast session.
So enjoy.
So I'm going to kick off real quick. Now, how old are you?
19. No, 20. I'm 20. Yeah.
And then we'll stick to KFS, which we mentioned on the last podcast was
just the fish breeding video.
And the brand name?
Yeah, Keeping Fish Simple.
Keeping Fish Simple.
Yeah.
Go from the start. How did you actually come across that?
So it's pretty random. I don't even know if I've talked to you about it before, but this started when I was, I think, like maybe 15. I might have been on like summer holidays. I've always been into fish. I don't know what it is. I told you the story of like how I started keeping fishes. Basically, I moved to a new house. There's a creek. I went to the creek, collected some fish, and then I bred those fish, and then took off from there. And then I got like one tank, got two tanks, whatever. So at this point, I had like 7 tanks. I don't know how I convinced my mum to let me do it. I probably didn't even do it.
But hold on. Let's not gloss over the point. Go back to when you were saying that you went down to the creek to collect fish. So where did that come from?
Well, I've always been into like I love going. I could spend like the whole day as a kid just like sitting by a dam, like just looking and like finding bugs and stuff like that. I've always been.
Is that a family thing?
Nah, it's more like just me. I feel like I'm very interested, like all the subjects I did at school were very like earth science based, stuff like that. So I've always been really into like and fascinated by life. Like I used to like get stink bugs, like collect like freaking skinks as well and geckos and stuff like that. I don't know. It's just always been like a thing. And so I was just sussing it out because we just moved there. And I was like, by the way, this isn't like a pretty creek. This is literally like a stormwater creek. So it's pretty grot.
But where are you living?
Indooroopilly. Yeah. So like it's
Indooroopilly, like, Brisbane. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not like gross. It's called literally Sandy Creek. It's like whatever. And so I was going and caught the fish and I just brought them home like this little tub. But that's how I started. And then, so this is like maybe 2 years after that, kind of like gone in and out of like keeping fish because of school and stuff like that. I kind of like taken up golf and just other random things. And for some reason, I don't know why, I just randomly decided to make like a YouTube video. I must have got like inspired from something. This is like on the summer holidays. It's the same time, like I would have been like what grade? End of grade 9.
What year would that have been?
2015. I think. Yeah. But so
YouTube was still pretty relatively new.
No, not really. I felt like at that point, the thing with YouTube is you always feel like it's too late to start. And I feel like now there's a trend where like everyone's kind of like gotten over that point where like they're like it's too late to start. It's become more normal just to start really late. But so randomly made this YouTube video and it was terrible. Like it was like not captivating at all, but it was like top 10 easiest fish to breed plus care for video. I didn't even talk in it. And basically what it was a bunch of photo collage of 10 fish that I thought were good to breed and easy to care for. And I put them in. It was like a 1.5 minute long video. And it's still up there. And and it just had the Apple Music over it, like the da-na-na-na, na-na-na-na, you know that one? Like the classic. So I had that. And so I just forgot about it, uploaded it, and then I think I told
why did you actually why did you upload it? What piqued the fascination with YouTube?
I always watch all the fish videos. Like it seems weird, but like you just kind of like that's how a lot of kids I feel like that are my age. So if you're like 20 and listening to this, if you've ever like got like a cool pet or you want to get like a gecko or something, it always starts with watching these YouTube videos. I was just like, I can just make like a YouTube video, and so that's how it started. And I came up with the name Keeping Fish Simple because it was like a play on words. It was like I'm keeping the fish simple and like keeping fish simple. I don't know. Does that make sense a little bit?
It's a masterpiece.
That's all right. It's like I probably could have come up with a way better name.
No, I think it's really good. Yeah, I like how you can abbreviate it KFS.
Yeah, okay, but then it sounds like KFC.
No, it's fine.
Yeah, it's all right.
Colonel Sanders won't mind.
Yeah. Anyways, so then I forgot about it, and like maybe a year later, I got like a letter in the mail from like Google AdSense, and the video had exploded and got like 25.
The collage video.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
There's only one video on the channel. I had like 200 subscribers, and I was like, it's not a lot of subscribers, but it's something. And I also had, so it's like, we owe you money basically, so set up your account. And then I opened it, and it was like, this is just me being completely honest about it too. You needed to get to $100 to redeem your AdSense, and I had like 20 from the 25,000 views. So like, I kind of like forgot about it and left it on autopilot. And then like, it was literally 2 years later, then I revisited it again because I got back into the fish, because I was like, this is before I started doing any of my other like side hustle stuff, like, because after school, this is like during last year of school, I was doing like the lawn mowing and stuff. I was just mowing lawns and things like that, classic things. And I was like, wanted to do fish, but I didn't have the money to like do what I really wanted to do. I had money, but I didn't see any point in spending my money on doing it because I didn't see it as a business thing. I just saw it as like a big money pit. So I was like, I'll make my YouTube videos and it'll help me like fund like the food or whatever. And I can sell like some guppies to the store. And
like guppies are fish, by the way.
Yeah, just some guppies, whatever. And sell them to the store. And then, so I just started grinding out YouTube videos, and I actually recorded this one. And it would have been literally my first video back. I got like super, super, super lucky. I can't express how lucky I am in a way to have like somehow triggered the algorithm in a certain way. Like, this is like not a good video at all, but I probably put a bunch of effort into it.
So like, this is the first video, the collage one, or you did another one?
The second one. I've come back to it. And this is like when I'm 17. So this is like the end of 2017, start of 2018.
2 years later.
Yeah, 2 years later, literally. And then so it was just like this guppy video. And I made like quite a few, and they just literally went crazy. I remember like going on Christmas holidays, I was like swiping, like, wow, it's getting like 50 views every like 5 minutes.
Wow. And
it got like, it's now on 350,000, which doesn't seem like a lot, but it's fish.
Yeah.
And it pays really well AdSense wise, because it's like family content.
What's high level definition of AdSense?
What do you mean?
What do you mean by AdSense?
AdSense is like your, like if you're watching a YouTube video or you have like a Google ad on the side of a website, it's AdSense, which is Google's company for dispersing the ads out. So it's like the back end of it. So like AdSense pays you for like putting video, like ads in front of your content. So like, and I was like doing pretty well, and kind of just went from there. And I just spent the whole year, made a video every week. And then, so like, the channel did all right. And then
you did a video every week,
just that's on 2018
on
whatever
breeding, on fish varieties.
I made
everything.
like a big list, and I think I just kind of like went through it.
Yeah,
I made some really terrible videos, and I made some like good ones, and stuff like that. And it was challenging, but like I liked it because it held me accountable and taught me a lot of stuff about like getting tasks done regardless. Yeah, like not giving yourself an excuse. Like, and I kind of like didn't miss an upload until I kind of burnt out from it a little bit at the end of halfway through 2019. I had like a 3-month break from YouTube, and then like that was terrible for my YouTube channel. I killed like a lot of like that momentum it was getting, but I think it was also good because it let me think about it more and come back to it more passionate. Yeah. So I came back to it more passionate, and I made terrible videos because my heart wasn't there really. I was just kind of like, I should probably keep doing this because like at that point I had like 15,000 subscribers. So I was like, I've already come this far, like I might as well just keep going. And then like made some terrible videos, and then it's really fresh, mainly the big part of my business now, because this is all how the business has come to where it is now. And COVID was one of the best things that could happen for me and KFS, because what happened was COVID stopped me from doing anything else, and I was sitting there and I'm like, well, what can I do? And I was like, I can just make YouTube videos. So I just grinded out YouTube videos and just built up like a huge amount of passion from like then. Like I was really getting into it at the start of the year, but COVID just built it up completely. And had time to enjoy what I used to enjoy, and really like figure out what I did want to do, because I was a bit like kind of just trying a lot of flavors of ice cream and not really knowing what I liked. You know what I mean? Yeah. So COVID then just made a ton of videos, got really good. Like, I'm not a beast at anything. Like, I'm talking honestly, I'm not like a crazy editor or anything like that, but I got really good at, just gave me time to learn things. I tried to learn everything, make really cool videos, and it really just, I like went from like at the start of the year I had like 12,000, now I'm at like 43,000 subscribers.
Wow.
And yeah, like
A
just
majority of that would have come through when COVID hit.
yeah, because I
and
just
then
nailed it.
just
Like
nailed it.
I just really focused on how to get all your, like I really focused on search, and then I tried to dabble in after I did like a bunch of the videos that I wanted to get on search, like so that if anytime you looked up anything regarding fish, you'd come up with me somehow. I tried to get onto the browse section, which is more important, and I've kind of just started to learn how to do that. But so that's how the YouTube stuff started. And
Which
then,
I think is a really
yeah.
good point where, and we're speaking before this podcast here, we're not naive to the fact that there's probably going to be all of 1 or 2 subscribers that listen to this, and it'll probably be me on repeat and maybe my mum or dad as support.
in mind.
But the reality of what we're doing, it's you're building the muscle, and over a long enough timeline, your muscle just gets better and better. So the earlier you can start putting out content and going through that awkward phase, in 12 months' time, you look back on like everything, and you'll have that growth and that real forward momentum that started 12 months ago. So that's what I like
And
about
like
what
the
you've done.
thing too, like I was also, you have to remember, like I was in a boys' school, and like it's definitely not the coolest thing. You don't want anyone finding out about your
Man,
fish
I
channel.
think fish are cool
Yeah.
as.
So like I understand completely the start bit, like where you're like making content and it's super weird. Like it's just like I don't know how to push past it. But
Did you go to a Christmas party with your family, and they're
no,
going,
only
"Hey
now.
Nick, what are you doing?"
Nah, it's only now actually. Because like mum brings it up, or like my grandma brings it up, or something like that. Most of the time, I actually go places and they go, "Oh, how are the fish?" I'm like, "I've never even told you. Like, how do you know?" Like, "Oh, we watched your channel." Like, yeah, told me. It's like, oh, okay, right, whatever. Anyways, so like I really I enjoy doing YouTube. I think it's like one of my favorite things to do. And like I built like a little audience that like I was trying to reply to all their comments and stuff like that. Like I really am passionate about it. So then I was talking to my dad, who's really, really good business mind. Like he's very like devil's advocate, and like told me like I wanted to do a store. He was talking to me, he's like, "You're not built for a store. Like you couldn't do retail hours," and like it's a huge financial commitment to set up something like that, because it's really like you got to set up all the tanks and things like that.
And so this was a point, so in your mind,
I was
you
like-
built the subscriber base, and
Yeah.
you went, "Okay, I wouldn't mind actually trying to do something with
Well,
this."
yeah,
now."
because like you don't want to have all your eggs in one basket. You don't want to have like just your AdSense, because YouTube can just start paying you half, and then it's not your business anymore. You know what I mean? So I was like very wary of that, and I thought, well, I don't want to sell to my subscribers, but I want there to be an option for subscribers to be able to buy stuff from me, if that makes sense. I don't want to like shove stuff down their throat.
Yeah.
I don't want to give them merch or anything like that. I hate that.
Well, you built trust in a brand.
Yeah, like and I thought, well, what's the best thing I can do? I'm like, oh, I can sell them fish, and they're here for fish. Give them what they want, and like I feel like if I make it, I'm passionate about it too.
Yeah.
Like so. Anyways, I was going to do the shop, and we just worked out that was the idea. We went down the whole aspect of wholesale, and I was just breeding. So it ended up turning into an idea where I would just do what I was doing at home, which I was making actually decent money at through COVID from breeding fish, because it gave me time to actually breed the fish I had, and I did all right. So I was just like, well, let's just scale it up. So now we've moved into a little garage. Literally, it's a single car garage. I filled it up with 65 tanks, and I'm just in the process of now starting to have some stock to sell to my subscribers. So at the point of recording this, I'm at 3 orders since reopening the store.
Yeah, boy.
I was selling quite a little bit of stuff before I took like sold out all the stuff from home. So I was doing actually really decently from that. But now we're just back up to going up a little bit. But yeah, now I've got a garage full of fish now. And the idea is breed just a ton of fish, sell them to the subscribers, and sell them to stores and wholesales and stuff like that, and just get KFS fish everywhere. Basically, I don't know, just throwing stuff everywhere and seeing what sticks really is kind of where it's at.
And if you can sell one, all you need to do is just find a way to then scale that to a
Well,
million.
yeah, and like a lot of the people who subscribe to me are just as passionate about me, about fish as me, and like they want all the variety that I'm trying to provide. I've got a lot of cool stuff, and I just think that I try and offer it for the same price as the stores, and hopefully, like, I mean, it's like bred by me. I take real good care of all the fish. You know, like they're not coming from overseas, they're not coming in sick or anything like that. So I really just try and I don't know, I'm trying to figure out what's working. But my subscribers have been awesome. Like it's like genuinely, I'm so lucky that those first couple of videos did really well because I'm a very results orientated person, and I'm like also a very impatient person, and I'm trying to get better about that. But seeing those results really early on was motivating enough to keep going, and now like seeing a consistent amount of subscribers watching the videos makes it seem like I'm doing something, which is like what's kind of kept that motivation going. Like I was still
it's like accountability partners in a way.
Yeah, and like I don't want to let them down or anything like that, but I don't want people to also think that I'm only making content to get views, because it's not even about that. Because I could buy crazy clickbaity fish and do all this kind of stuff and get heaps of views, but it wouldn't be me. So I only do videos that I'm really passionate about, and yeah, that's basically it. So
what I love about it is it's super organic.
Yeah.
And probably one of the biggest learnings I've had with working with yourself is you never actually know what might turn into something. You know, we did a TikTok there the other week where it was literally just a basic phone repair video that's got 920,000 views. Like that's just another example of what you've done there with the fish. Started off as a hobby, and I really like how it's just been so organic, and you just slowly built one brick at a time. I think it's really, really cool.
Yeah, without knowing.
It's really commendable.
Yeah, it's also, thank you. But it's also, you don't know what you're going to build at the end. It's the weird thing too. Like that's the weird thing about KFS.
You never know, do it.
Yeah, so that's why I'm still like not turning away any idea. Like maybe I will start a store at some point. Yeah. Maybe I will end up bringing in fish and then treating them and selling them to you guys. Like I have no clue what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I think people just appreciate that I'm always like, I'm never trying to get anything from you. I'm just trying to help you. And like, that's, I think, a really important trait to have. Like, I don't want like you to give me your money. I don't want to sell you a shirt. I don't want anything else except for you to like, maybe click my video, learn something and enjoy it. And that's basically the foundations of the whole business. So it's like, I want you to get a fish. I want you to have a good time giving a fish, maybe breed it and enjoy it. And that seems like I want to feel good about how I make my money, if you know what I mean. So yeah, that's kind of how it started.
Really
We've both got similar things here, because I know Frank's the exact same mentality. That's why I fit really well in with the idea of Frank. But I guess, should we
do the switch?
And you can tell me your story. I think I've heard it like maybe a year and a half ago, but I don't remember it too well. But I remember it being quite a lengthy story. So do you want to?
Yeah, we'll do the short version.
Just tell us the whole story. I want the long story.
Long story?
Long story.
So my journey definitely began, I'm 29, 30 next year.
Yeah.
So I'll go back.
We actually have a birthday 3 days apart, which is
it's pretty cool. Scorpios.
Yeah.
So my journey really began literally straight after school, and I actually wanted to be a physio. The similar thing, we actually coincidentally went to the same school, which we didn't realise until we started talking to each other. But I wanted to be a physio, and I wanted to have my own practice down the coast and live this real cool, chilled physio lifestyle. But as I started to go down that path of university, I realised I enjoyed more of the business aspect and the physio component. So I ended up dropping, I deferred for 6 months. A similar thing, I was doing some lawn mowing and little bits and pieces on the side for myself. And in and around my university lectures or tutors, I would go and do mow some lawns or throw some mulch on a garden. And it was really cool because it was all cash money as well. And I'd come back to tutors and lectures covered in grass clippings and stuff, which is pretty cool. So I did that, and then I ended up deferring for 6 months while I tried to work out what I wanted to do. At the time, my dad actually owned a commercial landscaping company, so I went and plugged in with him, just starting on the tools, doing my stuff on the side, and then the opportunity came up to maybe look at taking over that business. That then led to about 2 years about a year and a half of working within Dad's business, and we had a management structure there in place. And long story short of that, it was a great learning. And I think potentially if somebody has worked within a family business, navigating the family dynamics of a family business can be quite difficult.
Sure.
So I actually made a
emotional.
decision. It's emotional, and there's sometimes hard to separate professional and business. And I think my dad actually did a really good job of that. And probably what helped is when I moved out of home as well. But it was still one of those ones where I looked at it myself and I started to question whether I wanted, his story to be my story, and not that one is better than the other or any negatives at all. But I wanted to do something a little bit different and see what else is out there, but still within business. So I was super fortunate to then have a conversation with one of Dad's long-term friends and now a mentor of mine and shareholder of Frank, a guy by the name of Tommy Strawn, who owns a Brisbane-based private investment company. And when I left Dad in 2012, I worked within Tom's operations in different business units for probably about 4 years in total.
So when you mean that you were in the businesses he was investing in?
No, not so much. So Tom wasn't actually at the investment part of his career yet. He was more in the execution and building of that anchor business. Correct.
Yeah.
So he had a workforce management company, and within that group, there were probably about 6 or 7 different business units, and supplying our workforce into meat processing, into construction, into mining. I was lucky enough to get exposure across a few of them and actually started a business unit within that for Tom, which gave me some really good skills in learning business. And then in 2016, I actually got to a point where I realized I was 20, this was called 25, whatever it was. Yeah. And I realized I hadn't actually done any travel. And I had a brother who was living in London at the time, but I wanted to still explore stuff with business. So through Tommy and another local contact here, I put myself through somewhat of like a self-funded business expedition where I went and backpacked and traveled across London, New York, and down the west coast of America. But within each of those cities, I lined up meetings with different businessmen, businesswomen within the venture capital, private organizations, investment, down to just employees within pretty cool businesses. And I went over.
I've never heard of anyone doing a backpacking trip where they go.
No, it was really cool. Like I remember I landed in London, and I was lucky to meet a company, and I always butcher the name, but it was Pret a Manger, which is like a 7-Eleven here, but of somewhat targeting a bit of a different demographic. And there's a lot of stores everywhere.
Yeah.
And I landed in London thinking it was just some small organisation. Then I realised they had about 800 stores across London. And I remember getting out of my hostel and kind of, if you've ever stayed in a hostel, you know what it's like. You're staying with backpackers. Yeah, so I was in the hostel and literally threw on, some nice clothes, and it's a weird thing to walk out of your hostel wearing like pretty fresh kit. Yeah. And then I go to this meeting and I go there with my notepad and I just ask questions similar to this. And initially it would always be quite awkward at first because people they'd kind of look at you and go, well, who are you and what do you have for me? And what is this about? You've come from Australia. What is this? And it took a while for me just to kind of be like, well, look, I don't really want to know anything apart from your story. But hopefully within that, I'd love to be able to find some things within your story that might help my story. Yeah. Because I wanted to be in business. So I did that for a good 3.5 months and met some really, really cool people.
That's a long time.
Really cool people, backpacked, across those different spots, spent a lot of time in New York and similar thing. And ended up coming back with a few ideas that were definitely not related to Frank, what we're doing now. 2016.
Okay.
Definitely not related to what Frank is now, but it was all part of the story to get there. I came back, plugged in with my mentor again, Tommy Strawn, sought some of his advice around some of my next steps and what I wanted to do.
So did you come in like with a notebook of like, here's some of my ideas, tell me which ones suck?
No, it was more like, hey, here are some of my ideas. This is really transparent. Here are some of my ideas, but I haven't had any income for the last 3.5 months. I think I might go get a job and then maybe look at these. And Tom really challenged me on the fact of going, well, one, can you support yourself for another 3 months? And I said, well, yes. And he said, well, two, then why don't you try and effectively go after something and take on a mindset of that list of ideas, somewhat try and kill every idea on that list. And then the one you can't kill, there might actually be some stickiness and there might be a business.
When you say kill, I'm trying not to keep it too much tangent, but what does that involve?
So it was proof of concept and validation point. So one example of an idea was when I was backpacking, I actually saw a lot of when you're staying in a mixed dorm in a backpackers, you heard some real horror stories of, particularly with women and creepy guys, because sometimes you're literally sleeping just out in a bed within a bed of 12 other people. So I actually had this idea of, could you create a portable backpacker bed screen, which you then, when you've got into your bunk bed, you could kind of pull the shade down if you're on the lower bunk, and you then had some privacy within your own backpacker world. So how I looked at doing that was I actually there was a backpackers just around the corner from Packhorse Investments office in Paddington and Brisbane.
I know where it is. I see them.
Yeah, Banana Benders Backpackers.
Yeah.
And so I actually went up there and I would pretend that I was a buyer and a salesman for an American adventure company called REI Group. We might have to cut some of these names.
We're gonna not.
Yeah.
Don't say banana people.
And I would go and I'd say, hi, I'm Matt from REI. We're actually initially born out of America, but we're looking to expand into Australia. And we're just looking at some proof of concept of ideas. Do you mind if I ask a couple of questions on one thing we've been working on? Yeah, okay. And then I'd pull out my phone and I designed up a mock-up of some things, and then I'd ask the question not only to the owner of the backpacker, but then I'd go ask the travellers themselves. So I'd get the permission first, and I'd go into, say, the lunchroom and be like, randomly walk on up and
hi guys.
Go, hey guys, I know it's super, super weird, but hey, I'm from REI Group, blah, blah, blah. This is what I want to do. So this is what we're looking at doing. We're just validating a proof of concept. If we could create something like this, would this actually be of value to you? Sure. This is going to be a long roundabout story.
We've got enough time.
But then, so that's what I did, and I went and tried to validate this. And for that idea in particular, I actually got quite a bit. But then I kind of sat back and asked myself the questions of, well, is it saying that I want to do some of the fundamentals I'd learned with under Tom's guidance in particular around scalability of industry, evergreen type of industries, those real basic fundamentals of business. I kind of validated what I was trying to do against some of them as probably the first point of call. And then that privacy screen one, I didn't have the heart for, and I put that aside.
So you did that with all your ideas?
Somewhat, yeah. Try to do different things. We could probably share another podcast on example.
Awesome.
None of them were glamorous. Yeah. Like it was just anything, just trying to do stuff. And
was that scary for you at that time?
Mate, it was really cool in the sense of, it was super nerve-wracking.
Yeah, it made me really...
But it allowed me to build the muscle. Yeah. And when you go up and you're walking in and you're trying to pitch something, well, that has still carried across into now what we're doing with Frank, which, you can't... There's a great line of Steve Jobs where you can't connect the dots looking forward, but you have to trust they'll connect when they look back. And that all those little things when you look backwards all now add up, and they'll keep adding up. So I was doing that for probably 2.5 months. And again, throughout my career, I've been very lucky to meet good people, and my learning has come much more from doing the work directly, and then looking for, say, mentorship or advice from people who've walked a similar path.
Yeah.
And I was lucky to meet a guy who'd had some experience within the telco industry. And when I say telco, more of like the SIM cards in phones and mobile networks.
Yes, selling you your data.
Correct. Yeah. Data, mobile and data plans. They're calls and texts and data plans. And when I was over in London, I did actually see a company called giffgaff, which was a really cool youth-focused telco provider, doing some really cool stuff. No call centers, no nothing, all online, very digital focused. And this guy at the time, he said, this is what I'm looking at doing as well. And I saw an interest of that, and I saw a chance to then, get my start alongside a guy who'd had some experience and some success before, and try and build a leading youth focused telecommunications company in Australia. And we called that Frank Mobile. Right. And we went out and we effectively pitched the brand and the concept to the three major telcos in Australia, Telstra, Optus and Vodafone, and somewhat all three of them said, we love the idea, we'd love to try and get this going. Here's some of the requirements that you need to get going, which was the number one thing is capital. So we then went on a 12-month journey of trying to go out into the market and raise capital, which I thought would be really easy to do off the back of an idea and a business plan. Yeah. But not the case. Really hard. Not the case. And it's probably one of the areas I fell short on when I was doing my travels, where I went to a lot of seminars and I spoke to a lot of people that were in that space of really raising venture capital money off the back of ideas. And that may be the case more so overseas.
That's, I think, a very generational thing for us too.
I'd say so.
Very foreign to a lot of people who are older.
Fully
millennials, it's very different.
It's very weird.
Yeah.
It's very weird. And you think you can then do the same and raise a couple $1 million and then use that to start a business and kind of away it goes, which definitely happens, but it wasn't going to happen for us. Main reason was we didn't have any proof of concept. We didn't have one subscriber on our telco company. We needed the money to build into the existing network. So we did about 12, 18 months of trying to raise capital. Long story short, obviously didn't happen. We met some great people. We could get somewhat.
So how long was that again?
It was probably about 14 months all up from starting that journey, that Frank 1.0 telco journey. We were able to get somewhat capitalized, but we needed a lot more to get going.
For that period, that's 14 months.
Well, mate, a part of it was self-funded, but the bigger part was, again, luckily to have a great mentor and friend of mine, Tommy Strawn, and he's a man who's built many great businesses and has always, I believe, seen throughout his career, and we'll have to get him as a guest on the podcast, but throughout his career, I think he's always seen the value in research and development and having a sunk cost of capital that goes towards trying to get something else going and diversifying his business assets. So, the income that I was drawing off that was enough to have a bit of bread and water, which I'm forever grateful for, but that allowed us to kind of explore things that wasn't too capital intensive, but was still definitely a burn. And again, I'm thankful to Tommy for giving me that chance to take part of that and try and build something. Unfortunately, we couldn't get it going first off. So that was back in 2017, end of
2016
to 2017. Yep. We realized we couldn't get it going. So I, again, was lucky enough to go plug back in within Tom's now investment company, where that was going and looking at different investment opportunities to provide growth and expansion capital into Australian businesses to help them grow. And part of that, somewhat. And part of how you go about exploring that is you'll see a business or you'll see a concept, and then you'll do like a high level due diligence on what it is, and then you'll kind of reverse engineer whether it makes sense to invest into the business. So Frank itself was an idea that came to us at Packhorse, and I looked at
how did it come?
So it came actually through the same business partner that was doing Frank 1.0.
So he came up with the idea.
He came up with the initial idea of refurbished phones and brought it to us. And initially, I'm going to be honest, I was skeptical.
He came to you?
Yeah, he came to myself because we'd just been through a 12-month journey together.
Right.
And he said, well, look, I've seen an opportunity here in refurbished phones, particularly overseas, and I think there could be something here in Australia. And I went, well, isn't that like pawn shop secondhand dealer stuff, like gross, dirty.
Yeah.
But then the more you looked into the industry, and this is kind of how you went about business within that investment space, for me anyway, which was look at what's happening, particularly overseas, look at some successful players within the space, then look locally and see if there's stuff happening here or whether it could be done differently or better. And we truly believed at the time that there was the industry was in its infancy. There was plenty of room for growth and a lot of white space for a really strong, relevant brand, contemporary, contextual brand to come into the space that had that could build some real trust within the marketplace. And September 2018, we launched Frank Mobile, and I think I mentioned on the last podcast where a big part of that was kind of understood up from 2018 till now has been somewhat learning.
Yeah,
where we wanted to fit within this
learning to walk.
Yeah, this refurbished world, because there's every year there's 10 million phones sold and traded in Australia, so there's a lot of moving pieces. So we've worked out now where we want to be. That business partner who started the journey with me now, unfortunately, is no longer with us. We could probably do a separate podcast on that, but I'm forever grateful for the learnings that he shared with me along the way. But we've worked out where we want to be. We've worked out what we want to do. And it's going back to the basics of one phone at a time, try and build a really great brand.
For a bit there, the wholesale stuff.
We're doing a lot of wholesale.
Yeah, which is a good business. But
it's a good business model, but it just depends on, and depends on where you want to play as a businessman and businesswoman or entrepreneur. Like, I would love to try and test my skills in building a brand, and it's difficult. But I really see that as the play for us. And if it's not, well, it is what it is. We just got to give it a go. It's part of
any business. It's always part of like learning to lose. And I am still very young, and I haven't had massive losses or anything like that. I mean, touch wood, hopefully I don't, but happens to everyone. So it's just part of being an entrepreneur and exploring ideas. I mean, like I find it I would be very uncomfortable running around for 14 months trying to make something. And that's I would really like to talk about that more.
Yeah,
maybe we can do that in another podcast. But I I'd have a hard time doing that, I think. But,
well, it's all part of the story.
Yeah,
and the learnings I've had from that, I wouldn't now trade them for anything, because it's helped to get us to where we are now. But I was the first to admit I was way off course, thinking what we should be doing, and I lost some of my. Probably similar to what you were saying about your KFS journey before. I lost some of that spark there, and it became I was doing it for the wrong things, whereas now we're doing it for the right things and we're having fun.
It's when it becomes heavy. It's like a bit like,
correct.
You're not excited to get up, and part of the KFS stuff is that for right now, and I can't see it changing for a very long time now, but I'm super excited to get up in the morning and try and just sell you your fish. And I think you're the exact same. And I'm even the same coming here to Frank. I love selling phones. I love fixing them. And I just love the feeling of making a positive. I just really want to drive that home. It's just the positive impact. Like there's two, like you can make money, but feeling good about how you make money is a different kind of feeling about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I don't want to make money doing stuff that isn't renewable or green or.
Well, it's not fun, and I think it's probably a point that we didn't touch on there, but I think the reason we didn't touch on it is it's just so embedded in our DNA now, and I think as a generation as well.
Yeah, it's definitely our generation.
Yeah, that millennial side where
that old people aren't. It's just that I was raised.
You're raised to look at doing business that leaves a positive impact that above and beyond yourself. We're super fortunate with Frank where we do a lot of work with charities, etc. Yes. But our core activity every day of buying someone's disused product, some organisation, some individual's disused iPhone, checking that everything works as it should, and then putting it back into the market.
So smart.
Where luckily that pure activity is actually beneficial, because the longer you can keep something in the system, in its layman's terms, the better it is and the less the reduced impact it has on its environmental footprint. So we get that.
Delve into how
that's a whole other world, but
we get
to that every day. And again, probably another podcast on that side itself. But yeah, I agree. Once you got to have that.
To wrap it up, Tommy, come and do a podcast with us.
Tommy, let's do it.
Story. Yeah,
we're ready to rock.
Anyone, thanks everyone for listening to this podcast. I really do appreciate it. Thanks, Matt, for telling us your story.
Thanks, Nico, for sharing yours.
Exactly. Yep.
And until next Friday, team, we will see our 2 subscribers then. Right. Good luck. Au revoir.